Today we're doing lesson 4.5, which is quadratic equation. Obviously quadratic means x squared, and equations means we have an equal. So x squared equal, x squared equal, x squared equal, x squared equal, x squared equal. Okay? If it asks for the zeros, the roots, or the solutions, any of those words, roots, zeros, solutions, then your answer is where it crosses the x-axis. So we're going to put it in Desmos and see where it crosses the x-axis. Okay? So if it says what are the solutions, we're going to put it in and do it in Desmos. And again, we're going to do all this in a minute, so you want to hit pause and copy all this down, because then I'm going to just do it on Desmos. So number 2, what are the roots? Again, where it crosses the x-axis. And again, you put it in just like you see it. You don't have to solve for y or anything like that. Example 3, when it says zeros, again, where it crosses the x-axis, zeros, where it crosses the x-axis. Now, when asked other questions, we use Desmos. Remember, x is usually time. X is usually time. So it says how long or stuff like that, that's usually time. But you can see today it's a little bit different because it doesn't ask that. All right, so this question, for example 5, it says a frog jumps modeled by the equation y equals negative 0.029 x squared plus 0.59x. We have 4 questions. How far did the frog jump? How high did the frog jump? What is a reasonable domain? And what is a reasonable range? So if we're talking about how far did the frog jump, if I've got a quadratic, if the frog jumps, it's the quadratic. So when it gets here, when it hits the x-axis is when it lands. And we'll talk about more over there. How high did it jump? That's the y in the vertex. If it says what's a reasonable domain, domain is your x. So you can look at when it starts and when it ends, and then move it a little bit, and we'll talk about it, because not all, that frog might be like a big frog that can't jump as far. And then what is a reasonable range is the y. And again, you would see what the y is in the vertex and go a little bit more than that. All right, so you can hit pause real quick and copy that, because we're going to do it on Desmos. All right, the first question says what are the solutions to? So again, solutions mean where it crosses the x-axis. It says x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. So all I'm going to do is come here. This says 2 and 3. So my answers are 2 and 3. What that really means is you can put a 2 in for x or a 3 in for x, and it'll make the equation true. Okay? The second equation says what are the roots? Roots again means where it crosses the x-axis. So we're just going to put that equation in. X squared minus 7x equals negative 12. So here, I'm going to come here, that is 3 and that is 4. Be sure if you don't see it that you zoom out. Everybody know how to zoom out? We see it here, but I'm just saying you in another problem, we might have to. All right, problem 3, it says what are the zeros? So again, zeros means where it crosses the x-axis. So we got 2x squared plus 7x equals 15. So now notice this one over here is negative 5 and 1.5. Now, on a test, it might say what's the positive solution. So if I got a negative 5 and a 1.5, you would choose 1.5. It might say which one is the least or the smaller solution. You would say negative 5. So make sure you're paying attention to what's being asked. Right now, they're just giving it to you easy. All right, example 4, it says what are the zeros? And again, zeros means where it crosses the x-axis. So I got x squared plus 2x minus 24 equals 0. And again, we're going to see this. We get negative 6.125 and 4. Okay? So those were the easy ones. Now, the next one says example 5 was about the frog. So I'm going to put that equation in there, and then we're going to talk about it. It says y equals negative 0.029 x squared, then plus 0.59x. Now, if you see the parabola right here, okay, I'm going to zoom out so that I can see it. So there is my parabola. However, we're going to talk a little bit right here. The only part we have to focus on is the part that goes from here to there. Because 0, when x is 0, that's where the frog is. Okay, and it jumps here and it lands here. It doesn't go underneath the ground. So we're really just concerned with this part right here. And we'll talk about a little bit with the domain and range in a second. So the first question said, how far did the frog jump? Well, obviously, this is that frog at the origin. Okay, there's the frog. Okay, if it jumps here and it lands there. So my answer is 20.34, okay? So again, it wouldn't be 0, it'd be the x, it's 20.34. Now, letter B says how high did the frog jump? Well, that's the highest is the vertex. Then we're looking at the y. So it says how high, that's the y in the vertex. So it would say 3 and whatever the units are. Now, C and D ask about a reasonable domain or a reasonable range. Okay, so we're going to talk about it right here. If I was looking at this, domain is your x. Okay, so the one that said domain, that's my x. So, first of all, my x is this way. It was 0 and we landed at 20. Now, can it be less than 0? No, because you can't like jump negative. You just jump that way. Okay, so I'm gonna say like 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to. Now, domain is x, so that's why it's x. Your signs will always go that way. And again, we can't jump negative, so that's 0. Then ours went 20.3, so you might say a reasonable domain would be like 30. So maybe another frog might jump as far as 30, but most of them are between 0 and 30. Don't put like 200. Don't put 21. You could put 25 if you needed to, but I'd probably go to 30. So that's the domain. The range, which was the next one, is your letter Y. So again, if we're talking about a range, we're talking about how high it jumped. The thing starts on the ground, okay? When it jumps, can it jump negative? No. So you know it starts with 0 is less than or equal to Y, because again, range is your Y. Now, it went as high as 3, so I might say that another one could be 6, okay? You could put 5, you could put whatever. Don't put like 30. So those would be the reasonable ones. I'll give you a hint. Usually they're going to be 0 is less than equal to x is less than equal to something a little bit bigger than what you had. And then the range is 0 is less than equal to y is less than equal to a little bit bigger than what the y is you had. All right, that was section 4.5.